Choosing a guitar, the different types of guitar that are available. This video is the first in a series of videos that are intended for absolute beginners on the guitar to help you get started playing the guitar. And I'll put the link to that playlist down below in the description. And if you go through that playlist, it should get you to the point where you can play a few chords and read basic tab. And for anyone who's not yet bought a guitar, this lesson might be useful in helping you decide what type of guitar you want to buy. Right, let's get started. There are two main types of guitar: electric guitars and acoustic guitars. An acoustic guitar is any guitar that can be played without an amplifier, whereas an electric guitar is a guitar that is intended to be played with an amplifier. An amplifier is a device that's designed to make the sound of the guitar louder, and they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, from really tiny personal practice amplifiers to great huge amplifiers that will make it possible for you to play in a large hall or even an auditorium. And most modern amplifiers have the ability to change the sound of the guitar, and some of them quite substantially. To connect a guitar to an amplifier, you need a lead, which would connect the output on the guitar to the input on the amplifier. Now, between the electric and the acoustic guitar, there's a whole spectrum of different types of guitar, some of which lean more towards the acoustic capabilities, and some of which go more towards the electric capabilities. Here's a rundown of some of the different types of guitar that are available. The classical or Spanish guitar. This is a true acoustic guitar, and as the name suggests, it's best suited towards classical and Spanish styles of music. However, there are exceptions to the rule. For example, Willie Nelson, who plays country and western music, who uses this style of guitar. And as you can see, it's been well used over many years. This style of guitar has a small body for an acoustic guitar, with a wide neck and nylon strings. The small body and nylon strings give it a warm, woody tone, which is perfect for classical and Spanish guitar. The wide neck gives this guitar wider string spacing, which makes it particularly easy for fingerstyle guitar. And the wider string spacing would also make this guitar easier to play if you've got wider fingers at the tips. The design of these guitars tends to stay relatively uniform. However, you can find slight variations. For example, golpeadores or tapping plates, or a double drilled bridge, or even the traditional tuning pegs. But these variations are most commonly associated with guitars that are used to play flamenco. It's an urban myth, or really common misconception, that nylon strung guitars are the best guitar to learn on, or that you should buy a nylon strung guitar in order to learn the guitar. But this just isn't true. And in fact, if you want to play contemporary music, you'd be better off starting with a steel strung guitar. The steel strung acoustic guitar, or as you sometimes hear it referred to, the western guitar or folk guitar. These are full acoustic guitars, with a more tinny sound than the classical guitar, and usually the neck is a lot thinner. However, the body size and the body shape varies immensely. From the very large-bodied dreadnought-style guitars, or grand auditorium guitars, down to the very much smaller-bodied parlour-style guitar. The size of the body and the shape of the body does have an impact on how easy the guitar is to play. For example, if you have a larger bodied guitar, you might find it difficult to get your arm over the guitar, and you might find it uncomfortable to play. Whereas a smaller bodied guitar, you might find it more comfortable and easier to reach the strings. However, the smaller bodied guitars tend not to have as rich a tone as the larger bodied guitars. So really, you have to balance off what's most important to yourself. So for example, one thing to consider would be whether you want a body with a cutaway or not. The cutaway is designed to allow you access to the very high frets. Now, if you intend to just play open chords and do a lot of strumming or fingerstyle around the open string position, then a cutaway wouldn't be so important to you. However, if you intend to do more technical stuff and move up the neck, and for example learn guitar solos on the acoustic guitar before you move over to electric, then the cutaway might be essential to you. The electro-acoustic guitar. Originally, electroacoustic guitars were just acoustic guitars with the addition of a pickup, so you could amplify the sound if you needed to. However, you can still play the guitar as a full acoustic guitar. And this has its obvious advantages in that an electroacoustic guitar can be used in a number of ways. However, it's worth pointing out that the pickup on electroacoustic guitars is usually what's called a piezo, which sits under the saddle of the guitar, and these pickups are designed to produce the sound of an acoustic guitar. So, when you have a piezo pickup plugged in to an acoustic amplifier, the guitar will sound more or less exactly the same as a standard acoustic guitar, just louder. In recent years, some electroacoustic guitars have been veering away from the acoustic properties and more to the electro properties. However, because of this different pickup, they're not the same as an electric guitar. So for example, if you go to your favourite internet music shop, you may notice that most of the time these are listed under electroacoustic guitars, or in others they're listed under other guitars or miscellaneous guitars. And that's because there's no real place where these fit at the moment, because some of them have skeleton bodies and others have solid bodies in exactly the same way an electric guitar would have a solid body. And a lot of the time you can find these guitars in both steel strung versions and nylon strung versions. Personally, I think one of the best things about electroacoustic guitars is that they're easy to record. You just have to plug the lead into the guitar and into the recording device in order to make the recording, rather than using an expensive microphone and trying to find a soundproof room in order to do the recording. And this might be a consideration for the future if you want to record your music and share it with others. The semi-acoustic or hollow-bodied electric guitar. This now is a true electric guitar, in that it's got magnetic pickups, usually with a selector switch, and some control over the sound. With any guitar that uses magnetic pickups, it's essential that you use steel strings because they have to influence the magnetic field around the pickups. So all true electric guitars use steel strings. Now, because the semi-acoustic guitar is hollow, they have some slight acoustic properties. So you can play them without an amp for practicing, but they're very quiet. And when amplified, they will sound like a true electric guitar. However, they are more susceptible to feedback. So if you like a really high distortion or high gain sound, like heavy metal or grunge, then this guitar isn't really the perfect guitar for the job. And they're more suitable for blues and jazz, and possibly a semi-clean sound. Last but not least is the solid-bodied electric guitar. The solid-bodied electric guitar is obviously a true electric guitar, and it's designed for use with an amplifier. And because of this, they're not very loud at all when played without an amplifier. However, they do produce enough sound for you to practice on your own, providing you're not in a noisy environment. Unlike an acoustic guitar, which relies on the shape of the body to produce a sound, an electric guitar doesn't rely on the acoustics of the guitar to create the sound, but more importantly the configuration of the pickups. So electric guitars come in a massive variety of shapes and sizes, meaning that you can almost certainly find an electric guitar that's to your liking, no matter what your taste in music is. Here's some tips that might help when choosing a guitar. If you're totally confused about what kind of guitar you want to buy, you want to think about what style of music you want to play. Or if you've got a specific band you really want to sound like, you want to take a look at what guitars they use, and then this will narrow down your search. And if you find the guitar you really like is just too expensive, don't panic, because there's lots of cheap makes out there these days that make really good copies. And with modern manufacturing techniques, even the cheaper guitars are really quite playable. If it's at all possible, before choosing and buying a guitar online, it's worth going to your local music shop and trying a few different guitars, because they do all have very different feels, and everyone has their own preference as to how a guitar should feel. For example, Gibson have slightly closer frets to one another, so they're better if you've got slightly smaller fingers, whereas Fender have very slightly larger fret gaps, so they're better if you've got longer fingers. Or a Grand Auditorium style acoustic guitar is quite difficult to reach round if you're small, whereas a parlour size or something similar, because it's a lot smaller, you would find it a lot easier to play. Now, if you're left-handed, you may choose to play either left-handedly or right-handedly. And this might sound odd, but I know a number of people, including my own son and one of my best students, who are left-handed but play right-handed guitars, and they're perfectly comfortable with them. However, some left-handed people prefer to play a left-handed guitar. And these days with the internet, it's a lot easier to find a decent choice of left-handed guitars than it used to be. So, to summarise, the first thing you need to decide is whether you want to buy an acoustic guitar or an electric guitar. And eventually you might want to have both. And if you think you might make the wrong decision, or you have made the wrong decision, don't panic, because anything you learn on the acoustic guitar can be transferred to the electric guitar and the other way round. So for example, if you want to play a classical piece of music, you can do this on a nylon strung guitar, a steel strung guitar or an electric guitar. you have to put the fingers down in the same place and use the picking hand in the same way. And the same thing would be true if you wanted to learn an electric guitar tune on an acoustic guitar, except for the fact that on an acoustic guitar you have fewer frets and the higher frets aren't as accessible as on an electric guitar. So some electric guitar tunes go right up the neck, which might not be possible on an acoustic guitar. In the past, I've seen a number of people led into buying the wrong style of guitar to them because they've listened to advice from others. So beware of this. Even if someone's a good guitarist, don't take all their advice, because they may lead you into buying a guitar that isn't suited for you. I've even had a number of students buy guitars from guitar shops with the advice of their guitar specialist, and they were sold completely the wrong guitar for them. For example, I had an 8-year-old child sold a Dreadnought guitar, which was way too big for them to play. And I had another student who wanted to learn to play Nirvana, sold a 12-string guitar, which is totally unsuitable. So beware and listen to your own heart and look for a guitar that really rings right with you. As I mentioned at the beginning, this video is part of a playlist for people just starting the guitar, and you'll find the links to those down below in the description. And if you want to see more videos like this or actual guitar lessons, please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon, and then you'll be notified when I upload them. Or you can find all my courses laid out in an easier format at www.ebooksforguitar.com. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you'll come back soon for the next video.